want to say thank you for the support. I truly appreciate that. Second of all, I just wanted to mention if I don't cover topics in depth, I'll always be sharing information on where you can find more resources, because I did realize that sometimes it might be pretty tough to start just because I'm also, this is not what is it called, scripted, where I would sit with a script and then read through a script. This is just me trying to do the natural coding and just jump in there, trying to solve problems and seeing how we can solve some problems. So the one thing that I promise to be doing is adding more information. And please also, if you have questions, always do add them on the comment section. I will always be responding. The other thing is that for this video, we'll be doing, so since we did 2 animation in the previous video, we just want to keep building upon this particular application. We're not going to build a new one. We're just going to build upon the fundamentals first. And then after that, we can go into in-depth. Now, let me stop talking too much and jump into this. So today we're going to build a bottom navigation, and that just means there's many types of navigation when you think about navigation in Android. For instance, explicit intent, that is navigating from one activity to another within the Android app. And then there's implicit intent, that is requesting an action from another app component without specifying the target component. And that you can think of that like opening a web app. And then there's also the bottom navigation, where you have a couple of icons and descriptions, and then you navigate to one screen and another screen, and that helps you just navigate within your app. And that's what we'll be concentrating on. Now, there's other types of navigation, that is the tab layout, and it's used to create, let's say, a tabbed interface. When you tab, you're able to navigate in different sections. There's other types of navigation too that you can look into when you're just like Googling. You can look at, let's say, a view pager, and also moving from another place to another, like just toolbar action. That's also navigation. That is, you're able to navigate back and navigate forward. Now, for our particular example, we are going to first create a package. Let's go ahead and create a package here and call this package destinations. And the reason as why we're creating destinations is, in our particular bottom navigation, I'm going to create a sample of, let's say, 4 navigation. Mostly, I think there's also material design guideline where you cannot have more than 6. So you can read upon that and see what is expected. But normally for a normal app, you would have 4 or 5. I think Twitter, let me see. I think there was one that I saw that was actually going against. Okay, Twitter has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I mean by what Twitter has is, I'm looking at their bottom navigation, which is when you go to search, you're able to search. When you go to communities, and then you have notifications, and then your messages right there. They also have the drawer navigation, which is on the icon. When you click the icon, it opens. That's the drawer navigation. Now, inside here, we are going to create a sealed class. So here we're going to create a class and call it destination. And in this destination, as I mentioned, it's going to be a sealed class. Now, this is also a lot of information in Kotlin. So what is a sealed class? So a sealed class in Kotlin are used for several purposes. And this is the way I think about them. So they're mainly to create a restricted class hierarchy that is useful in a variety of reasons. Number one, it can be limited inheritance, grouping related types, and also pattern matching. Now, inside this particular sealed class that we've created, we'll have 4 objects, and we will define them using the object keyword. And that is, let's say, object transaction, or object budget, and object task. And inside those particular objects, we'll have them take a few things. That is the title, and then the string, and then the identifier. I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's go ahead and start coding this and just see how that is. So first of all, I'm going to let my destination get a couple of parameters. And number one, I'm going to have a route. So I'm going to call this a route. And this is going to be a string. So for instance, that route is the identifier that I'd mentioned. For instance, when I say transaction, the identifier for this particular transaction is going to be that route. And that can just be a transaction. Now, I'm going to have a val. And the reason why I'm using val, I've also explained in the video before. It's because vals cannot be reassigned, and that's why I'm using that. These are the finals. So that's going to be an int because an icon will use the drawable icon, which is always an int. And then we'll have the title. And the title, as you've guessed it, is going to be a string. And that's done. Now inside here, again, we're going to create the object. Like I mentioned, I'm going to call them, I'm just going to have an object name before them, and then we're going to call the destination and then pass this, right? As you can see, it needs a route, an icon, and a string. So this one here, definitely badly spelled, and should stop complaining. Transaction. Okay, I see you. Good. Now, so here I'm going to say, let's say the route is, so for now I'm just going to use transaction. S for that icon, I'm going to have, let's say, r.drawable. I've not created this particular icon, so we might need to come here and just come here. Normally I just get them from here pretty fast. It's not a local SVG, so I need it from here. So I'm gonna say transaction. So I think I can have like a money icon. Yeah, serve money icon. This is just transaction. This is just for our example, for demo purposes. And then I'll get the transaction. And then for the string, I'll just say title will be equals to that. And then I'll say R. You can use the R here, or you can just name it. I think this one here depends with how your company writes the code. So it's up to you, preference here. So I can just pass in that transaction right here, like that. And now, as you can see, we've created this particular object that's, let's say, has a route and an icon and a title. And something else that I like just to mention, for instance, when you see the transaction, it just represents the destination with a route and an icon resource. Now, the thing is that one more thing. Oh, so actually I can just copy this. So we said we were going to create 4. So I'm going to create 4 of those. But this one I'm going to call it a budget. I'm going to call this, let's say, remember, don't do as I did, don't, but it's actually okay to copy paste if you know what you're doing, because here I don't think I need to keep repeating. However, the challenge of copy pasting is one, you will have a bug that you will not be able to figure it out because you copy pasted. That has happened to me before, and then I stopped copy pasting. But it depends though. Now I know how to debug faster, move faster, unless it's material 3 where I'm struggling, like thinking through material 3. Okay, we definitely need to change this particular icon. So saving time, just come here and get 3 of them. So for them, I think I need a wallet for, let's say, budget. I'm just gonna call this budget. And then I will need another one, but I need a task. This is good. Just call this task. And then finally I will need a setting icon. Setting. And there's a couple settings. This is good. Send and finish. And then I'll just come here and replace with that budget. And then I'll replace this with let's say task. And then I'll replace this with setting. There. Now, this is not done. We'll need to be able to loop through this particular sealed class and get all these destinations, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a companion object that is going to be accessible outside my class. Now, the companion object just defines a static property called, I'm going to call it toList. And that will be just a list containing all the defined destination object. And as you've guessed, that's just transaction, budget, task, and setting. Now, what is this going to do? It's going to allow us to easily iterate through all the available destinations in our code. So let's go ahead and create that. So companion object. And inside here, I'm going to say val to list. And you'll see how I use this one. Will be equals to list of. And as you can see, it's just, I don't need to pass anything there, but here I'm just going to say transaction, but comma, budget, and then I'll need task, and then I will need setting. Now let me see why my object is complaining. What does it say in it? It's complaining for. Cannot be what? Sealed. Convert to data object. That's an object. Oh, is that a new way of actually, because before, I mean, I would just, is this a new way of, so I have to admit, I'm using the latest, let's say, Kotlin and latest latest dependency. So I'm not sure, because before you didn't need to do all this. So this is pretty interesting that they need us to put a data object. Before you just say it's an object and that's okay. And okay, let's see if that works. Now that we've done that, we need to now go ahead and create an app screen. Now I'm going to code this a lot in just I'm going to just remove this code now because I don't think I need this particular code here. And what I'm going to build is just, again, from top going down, top bottom. And what I'm going to build here is, first of all, a nav controller is part of Android navigation component library, and that's what we're going to use. And then in our case, we will have like a bottom bar inside the scaffold. And as you've seen before, we don't have anything unique to our particular surface here. So it's okay to create anything we want for now, because we don't have any sets of rules that we are sticking to. So here I'm going to create a composable, and then I'm gonna call this app screen. And then inside here, I'm going to create a nav controller. I think I might need to import this. Let me see if I have that already. Member. Yeah, I think I might. I think I need to import the nav. I need to import the nav controller, which is going to be here. Let me see if I can get a nav controller. Oh yeah, I actually found it. Is this the latest? Nope. I've actually not paused the video because I just figured I can find this on my Generality project. Okay, so the project is syncing. Let's give it time to sync. Don't think I need all this space down here. And that will enable us to just import the nav controller and also be able to use other things that we need in the nav controller. For instance, the nav host. Okay, let's see now if I'm able to just hit import. There we go. And there we go. Now, I will, like I mentioned, I'm going to use a scaffold, because the scaffold, so Compose is pretty cool because it offers pretty cool stuff. For instance, in the scaffold, I'm able to just come here and say, I need, as you can see, I think I've talked through in other videos just how you know what's needed in a particular composable. For instance, here you see this one takes a bottom bar, it takes a snack bar host, takes a floating action button, like so many cool things that you can do in a scaffold. So I'm going to just get the bottom bar, which is actually a unit. And then inside the unit, I'm going to tell this, hey, bottom navigation bar. For now, this is not created, so I'll definitely have to go create this. This is going to take a nav controller, which is equals to the nav controller. For now, thinking through what it might need, and then it will have the app items, which is the items that we will need, and this is going to be the destination dot, can somebody guess, to list, because now we're just looping through those. Remember, this is not created, so we'll definitely need to go ahead and create that. Now, if you notice, it's still complaining, so we need a couple of things. And here I'm going to create something called the content, because definitely we need a content. And as you noticed here, it wanted a padding value. I mentioned in my videos, I like to have this one's pretty well defined, the it, so that you can know what you're actually building. And here I'm going to just create a box. Box is just as you think about it, just a box. And in this box, I'm going to have a modifier. And let me tell you something. I do know for a fact that in Android, everybody has like, and which is okay. I feel like this is all programmings anyway. And here we're just going to pass the padding value. Everybody has their own opinion in programming, and which is always cool because, like, hey, as long as we're getting the same and just following their documentation, I'm good. Now here I'm going to create something called app navigation again. So these are not created. So these are things that I will go ahead and create. And what's going to be here is just nav controller, which will be equals the nav controller. As you've noticed, that's done. But this one here is complaining. And well, let's see what this one needs. Too many arguments for the scaffold. Let's see. Okay. Too many arguments for the scaffold. Okay. That looks to have fixed it. Now let's go ahead and create the bottom navigation bar. Now, when creating the bottom navigation bar, so what we just have to think in mind is that we will have a nav. So the good thing with Compose is that it also handles the backstack entry for us pretty nicely and easily. So what we're going to create, let's say a nav stack back entry, and we're going to just say by nav controller, and we have to keep track of the current state. Now, this will help us obtain the backstack entry using, let's say, current backstack entry as state, if I'm not forgetting that. And then that extension function is just from the nav controller itself. So I think, let me just write it down. It's much easier when it's written down, and just we can see exactly what I'm talking about when you see it. Need composable, and then file, bottom navigation bar. As you mentioned, it takes two things, nav controller, and then it also takes what? The app items, which is a list of destination. App items, which is a list of destination. That should not complain now, and you see there, that's already fixed. Now, inside here, as I mentioned, I need to now call the bottom navigation. Where am I going to get this bottom navigation from? It's going to be provided to us by Compose. That's the one I'm going to call the bottom navigation. Now, here you can do as many things as you want. Let's say put the background color, content color as you want. So for instance, for me, I'm going to say the background color, yes, it takes colors. I'm going to go to my color resource, r.color, can do just color primary to March. What is a triangle color? Oh, the triangle color I created. Okay. Color, but I think for some reason it's okay. Color